Do you think what makes a photographer is the combination of not just shooting but also editing, or do you think one can be a photographer without editing, period?
Oh, for sure. I actually just worked with someone who literally, he's great. He's like a master photographer, and he literally, everything he shot in that moment was already like, it was great. Like he didn't have, like literally, I think he threw it in Lightroom, did like some twisting and turning with cropping and maybe like a adjustment here, like, but nothing crazy. And he literally sent me all the photos on hand. I'm like, oh wow, like I have so much credibility to people. I personally, it's because I love to add more intensity and drama to it, and not that I can't shoot in the moment, but I just enjoy the retouching process. But I've worked with so many photographers and known people that just like the hardcore mechanics from the front, you know, and just shoot it as is, and it still looks great. I am like, wow, I mean, it's fantastic, especially like a lot of landscape photographers that I know.
That's why I still respect film.
Boom. Absolutely. You know, you only had, you know, film and just that one chance, you know, boom, 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 and they do the same thing. So, you know, learning how to use the camera is a little bit more technical, you know, so I feel like if you master learning the camera, you can pull off the image right then, like just right there.
You do a lot of like dodging and burning, right?
I used to.
You used to? Okay.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I still, not that I don't these days, but back then was a lot more, you know, I relied on it heavily.
Yeah.
I relied on Photoshop a lot, I'm not gonna lie. I did.
That's dope though, man. Like low key, like I always wish that I could actually like take an image and go like, nah, I'm gonna make it better in Photoshop. Like I feel like the way I was kind of like, I learned photography is get it as perfect as you can in camera.
I've learned that now.
Don't rely on your skills. Don't rely on your skills later, bro. You know,
no, but like, that's also another, you know, it's just learning style. It's how you learn, you know. I didn't mind taking the time to fix it. Yeah. And even these days I still enjoy it, but you know, it's all personal style. But I respect both areas. How
would you describe your style of photography? Like if you had to describe it, how would you?
I definitely, I mean, or at least from what I've get a lot, it's a little bit more, you know, not that it's like artsy, but kind of more in like, I like it to look a little more somewhat animated. Like I like that kind of like visual turn on it, if that makes sense. Like I'm heavily inspired by Tim Burton, so I like the way he would, you know, do something but in like a realistic way, but still make it look very you know, vampy and kind of plasticky and mannequin like. Have you ever seen those photos that look like paintings? I have, yeah. Like they look like there was some kind of like, it was like an oily finish to it, but you know it was a photo, but like, they just make it look like it's painted. I've always wondered how that was done. Like, I know it's in Photoshop, I just like a lot of realism in that sense too, so that's where I was like, I loved making people look like mannequins or stuff like that. Like that was my aesthetic, and kind of still is to this day. Like I like making them look pale and like not super smooth, but in the sense of like almost like in an anime term. But like I said, my friend was a huge anime nerd, so that's why I think I still grab some of my influence. Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, like, describing your style of photography, like one word I would use, it was desaturated, and you just said pale skin. I mean, looking at your photos, when I look at your photos, there's never too much different colors, right? It's always like a tritone effect. Like there's like a greens, a skin tone-ish color, and like maybe like the desaturated sky or something like that. Yeah. It's never like, do you feel, is that something that you purposely did on? Yeah, because I've always grown up to like I loved anything vintage and like old Hollywood and just more like antique-y vibes. So I like this 3 hues of color type of deal, you know. I have, you know, some vibrant and crazy color work, you know, whether I'm using color gels, you know, blue this way and red that way and all that, but I think my go-to is usually more in that kind of